Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, a space for honest conversations across business, life, and the moments that shape us. We delve into the minds of founders, leaders, creatives, and experts. So if you're looking for thoughtful insights, real stories, and conversations that go a little deeper, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today, I'm joined by Maku Fenaroli, founder of Maku The Label, a bold, art-led brand that's built serious traction in a short space of time. Maku started the business while working in finance, created a few T-shirts when she felt she had nothing to lose, and within 4 months, the momentum was strong enough for her to quit her job. Recently named in the top 50 people in e-commerce, she is building, navigating growth, marketing, self-doubt, and the realities of backing yourself. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Lovely intro.
It's, a fascinating journey that I think you've been on, and different worlds from your finance background to now fashion. And I just thought it would be great to tap into that journey really a bit more, and for listeners to get a bit of an insight of how a change can happen, perhaps in your life or direction. So firstly, take us back, because before launching Maku, which is a fashion brand, you started in finance. So how did you end up in the financial world?
Yeah, so I had a job in a superannuation company, and actually back in New Zealand, I was a teacher. So I'd moved to Melbourne thinking I would get another teaching job. I couldn't get the position that I wanted. So one of my friends worked in HR for the superannuation company. And I went in for an interview thinking this would just be like a short-term thing. And then I was there for 13 years.
It's crazy where the years go.
Yeah. And I just remember thinking when I started, wow, this is so easy. Like, it's such an easy job from teaching. You just go in, do emails and all that stuff, have your lunch, and then go home, and you're not there still thinking about the children and the program that you're going to teach for the next day. So yeah, I ended up just staying because it was quite comfortable at the time, but it was obviously never my passion.
And have you always had a creative?
I've always been an artist, yeah. So I've always been an artist, but it was always my side hustle. It was never something that I thought I could do full time. I always wanted to. Obviously, you always want to do your passion full time, but was never in that position. But funnily enough, the company that I worked for always used to hero that you can work flexible and you can do your passion. And so I would, be the spokesperson for flexible working, and I have my career as an artist as well. So I would talk about it at work as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And what prompted you to finally take the leap, start it, and in particular start with T-shirts?
Yeah, so T-shirts obviously wasn't on the bingo card for me. But I just finished breastfeeding my second child, and I was living in T-shirts, and I wanted to buy a couple of new tees at the time, and they were really expensive. All the ones that I liked that felt like they were me were in the $200 mark, or designer T-shirts, and I just couldn't afford them. So I was like, whatever, I'll just print my own. And there are a lot of companies around Australia, like the T-shirt company and the print bar, where you can just upload your artwork onto their website and they'll print you the T-shirt and send it to you. And I thought, let's just give this a go. I've got nothing to lose. I'm not investing any money in this. Even if I pop these up on my website and nothing sells, I haven't pre-bought these T-shirts. So I did that. And of course, my sister and cousin were the only people that brought them when we started. But then a couple of influencers that I reached out to agreed to let me send them the T-shirts, and it just took off.
Wow.
And I think one of the reasons that it took off was I was designing pieces that I really wanted to wear. So I knew they were wearable, and they weren't just me trying to copy something that another T-shirt brand has done, or, trying to come up with the same formula that everybody's used to. They were looking for something different and for something really colorful. So yeah, it was a very unexpected shift in my career at the time.
And at that point as well, by leveraging these other companies as well from a manufacturing point of view, initially then you didn't have to have that big outlay of, or buying up front all of the products, you could actually utilize that service, print on demand, if you will. And then that, I imagine, gave you a good insight to what are people actually buying and what they want.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And it was a really great way to start the business because there was absolutely no risk. I would paint something and then 30 minutes later pop it on Instagram and people could buy it. And it didn't matter if the designs didn't sell because, as I said, we weren't buying stock in these. So I was really kind of testing what worked and what didn't. But what wasn't great was it would take people like 10 to 15 days to get their order because they were printing the T-shirts to go. We didn't manage this company. It was a company that this is their standards. You get your printed T-shirts within this time. So not great customer service, but great in terms of learning and great for us as a business who were just kind of testing the water.
Very much. And, we often talk about it's kind of putting something out there, test, iterate, learn, then, build from it. So not having that huge, risk at the beginning was really useful. And many people, who are perhaps working corporate worlds or even just other jobs, they might have this idea they've got a business idea or something they want to do, but you end up in this situation where, well, you can't fully leave the job yet because you're wanting to cover your salary perhaps. But then on the next side, you can't grow the other business because you don't have the time to do it because you're working full time elsewhere. How did you navigate through that period? And when was the tipping point that you thought, right, we're onto something here and I can consider actually leaving my job?
Yeah, it was after we had our first ever sale, which was Boxing Day. Bear in mind, the business only started officially in December, and then we had our first Boxing Day sale that same month. And I think we did 6 figures and we were like, what?
Wow, yeah.
And so I think it was kind of that point that we started thinking maybe this is going to be something we can continue. And then the sales continued in January. We had our biggest month ever in February, which we've learned now that in retail that's quite unusual. And I think it was at that point that I was working till 12 o'clock at night setting up these artworks on the website that we were using because it was so manual that my mental health was starting to struggle trying to do the two things.
Yeah.
And I thought I can either lean in and do the business that I feel most passionate about, or we scale back the side hustle and I try and keep the 2 jobs, but I just wasn't mentally in a place to keep the both. And my husband was like, let's do it. I back you. We had just brought on Colleen, the business advisor, and she was like, I think you're safe. So it wasn't without a lot of thought behind it. And also, although, 4 months isn't that long, we felt like we had enough data there to say we can comfortably quit our jobs knowing we can expect this amount of revenue for the next year. So I think that was what made us comfortable to quit our jobs at that point, was we felt like we had enough data to say it was safe for us to quit and we would be financially stable. But yeah, it definitely wasn't without hesitation and without a lot of, strain on us.
And it is harder, especially with, 2 children in tow as well. You're not thinking of it just solely for yourself. Perhaps when you are in the earlier 20s or younger, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. No one else is relying on me. I don't have really any responsibilities. But obviously at this stage, you've actually got those to consider as well. And when you did actually hand in your notice, what did that feel like?
Oh, it was the best moment of my life because although I didn't hate my job, I certainly didn't love it. And I think a lot of people can probably attest to the fact that the corporate world can feel a little bit toxic, a little bit draining. When you work for a big corporate company, you kind of become just a number and you're very replaceable. So it felt really good to be able to leave that environment that I never really loved or felt passionate about. And also it felt really good because I just, as I said, wasn't in a good place mentally trying to hold up 2 jobs at the same time. But my husband and I both felt really comfortable because we're like, if this doesn't work out, we can just go back to the same job. It's not the end of the world. We'll give it a crack. And if it doesn't work out, we just go back and find jobs. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's having that mindset to think, it's not like if this is the only thing that I'll ever do, if it doesn't work, it's like you can just go back or, find a new job or a different job. It might open up a completely different area as well. When did you feel that there was then that moment that this is the true launch of the business? So as you said, it sort of launched in that December over the Christmassy time, but do you think it was more so after you'd left your previous company that you're like, this is now it launched, or was there a bit of a journey in that?
I mean, I would say we felt like we officially launched as a business when we started manufacturing our own T-shirts, because up until this point, we'd been using blank T-shirts from the businesses who'd been printing the T-shirts. And in that Boxing Day sale, we sold out of every single coloured, like not the white and black T-shirts in Australia. So we had some customers who were waiting 2-3 months for their it was excruciating. And I was dealing with every single customer service email with people like being so nasty about a T-shirt. You wouldn't believe how nasty they could be. And I was like struggling. So when we finally got our first shipment of T-shirts, which, it sounds silly, but having our own neck label was such a big moment for me because it felt like I had officially a product that was mine. So that was around about April or May of 2025 was when we got our very first batch of T-shirts that were all ours. And we'd moved to a different printing factory who were working with us rather than just using a business who does that for lots of different companies or whatever. So, yeah, that's when it felt like we were officially sort of making it serious. And that was also when I started really ramping up the ready-to-wear design process, because I knew that T-shirts alone was not going to be a business that was going to be sustainable. And I'd already seen lots of other people starting to come out with their own art-based T-shirts, and I just knew we were going to have to pivot really quickly, which is what we started doing at that point.
And gosh, I mean, how was that journey in itself? Because a lot of people, they might be in the creative space or the arty space and think, oh, I can't really do the business side of things or the logistics side and all of that. But as you highlighted, not only are you the artist, you then actually had to go and source the manufacturing. So was that a bit of a process? Because then you're getting into how you want the T-shirt to actually fit and feel. And I know myself, finding T-shirts, and I've just got here, the branded T-shirt here, but would this be my actual desired fit of T-shirt? Possibly not really.
Yeah.
So actually once you get into that side of things, you've now got even more elements to think about.
Yeah, and I mean, I just loved learning every little piece of information about it. And we tested lots of different T-shirts. And then, initially in the early days, people were telling us that the necks were just a little bit too tight. So then we fixed the neckline, or they were too long or too tight on the hips. And so we really took that time to listen to all of our customers' feedback and really design a T-shirt that just felt like it was going to work for everyone. And so I really loved coming to that process and, working that out myself. And the other amazing thing that the business did for me really was give me a love for my art back, because having that be my side hustle for so many years, knowing that really I did always want it to be my full-time job, but I just never could quite get the art off the ground.
Yeah.
You just slowly lose confidence. I was like, oh, I'm not a good artist. The only way I'm going to get considered or taken seriously is if I go back and do a bachelor's degree. So I was either going to stop art altogether or go and do a bachelor's degree. I was like, I've had enough. Like it's just draining me. It's draining my love for art. I don't feel creative. And that was kind of when I started putting the art on T-shirts, because I just sort of had lost all care factor.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because then the minute I just dropped all of my, inhibitions was when I started this company. And then, found my love for art again and couldn't stop painting. Like if you look around me now, there's just artwork everywhere. I just am constantly painting. So it was so nice to be able to get my love for art back. And when it's your own company and your own passion, you're just driven. So yes, it's difficult to work out all of these things you've never worked out before and try and find manufacturers and whatever. But the hustle is like what keeps you going. It's like exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're making me think, as you're chatting, my auntie is actually an artist in the UK. She's an amazing artist and she does a lot of like teaching and she does holiday courses and all of that sort of stuff. But selling the actual art is hard. And the reality is a lot of, the very famous artists that we know of their time, they didn't become famous until they were dead. So if you want to obviously in your living life embrace and enjoy the art, it is as an industry that is challenging.
People don't often have money for art. I mean, I'm an artist. I look at my own home. Like the priority of when I do have money and if I'm going to spend that on art, it's like way down here. Whereas T-shirts and clothes, we love T-shirts and clothes. Yeah. It's so easy to spend money on. So, and drinks at the bar, but
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think it sort of helped me realize it wasn't that my art was bad. It's just that it's a tough industry to work in and it's a hard sell.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think has been the hardest part to the success or the business growth that people don't see? People do just hear that, oh, great, you quit after the 4 months, it was making enough money. It's a huge success. What has been the things along the journey, do you think, that have been those trade-offs?
I mean, the biggest one was when we sold out of those T-shirts in December, which was amazing because the business was growing. But sitting there and reading all of those customer emails of people who weren't getting their T-shirts, I was in tears every day. And my husband had to remind me, like, you're not saving lives, you're just selling T-shirts. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
But it was really difficult because you're in there and this is like your brand and this is your baby and you've got people like it was really, really hard. I think one of the biggest things for me to get through that was hiring someone in customer service to just take over those emails because I just couldn't mentally deal with them anymore. It was so hard. And then the other really difficult thing to manage was learning to do ready to wear. I'd never done any of that before, the product development and like finding fabrics that actually print the artwork and maintain the integrity of the artwork has been really hard. So just the sheer amount of money that's gone into trying to make these garments amazing. And then you get a comment on TikTok that's like, why is it this or that?
It's hard not to take it personally.
Yeah, it's really hard not to take it personally, especially when people don't understand how much really goes into it. And I think one of the difficult things too has been like trying to work out our retail price. Obviously I would love to charge the same prices that Big W and Kmart do, but we just don't have that buying power. And I think, trying to find the right balance of charging a reasonable price, but being able to keep a roof over our heads has been difficult to manage because we've never had to look at things like that. And we've never had to run a business ourselves and understand what are all of the costs in a business.
And there's so many that people have, like genuinely the customer has no idea about all of the levels.
Absolutely no idea.
Everything you're saying to me is absolutely resonating with, our journey with the Really Good Conversations so far, because there's the physical product itself. That's almost like the easiest thing.
It is, yeah.
Apart from your ready to wear part, because there's all of these other elements from whether it's, the marketing, but the storage, the delivery, the logistics, the postage, and then exactly what you said, things once they go into the post are a little bit out of our hands. And you're relying on the postal services or the courier services. And then when you get customers saying the thing hasn't arrived, but all the tracking is there to say it has, it's like, yes, so totally understand. There's so many just unforeseen elements as well.
And probably one of the most heartbreaking things was not being able to put my very first bomber jacket into production. So we'd made this really amazing bomber jacket with flowers and everything over it. And then when the bulk shipment arrived, the art peeled off. And
oh no,
it was devastating. Yeah, that was one of the big... Anyway.
They'll all become a book one day.
Yeah, it's been a huge, very steep learning curve.
And the art is the thing that really, you are driving that visual element to the brand. Is e-commerce your predominant main channel for sales?
Yes. We don't have a storefront, so we're only e-com. And that's the side of the business that my husband manages. And he's really taken that on and is loving that. I don't know if you know how many e-com bros there are, but there's like a little community of e-com bros and they love talking to each other. And so he's really thriving with that. And I think that even if this business for some reason didn't work out, but of course it will, manifestation.
Yeah.
He will always do e-com stuff because I think it's just a great business for him.
And you have been recently identified in the top 50 in e-commerce.
Yeah.
So how was, that recognition feel?
I mean, it does feel a bit like it should be Kyle, to be honest. But I suppose the business was, created by me. So, but yeah, no, it was really great, and really grateful to be recognised as part of that, especially being so new to this industry. Just feels, like a privilege. Yeah,
brilliant. How do you structure your work so that you can bring the energy to what you're doing?
To be honest, I do struggle with trying to figure out the structure of my day. And I feel like I've gone through a few different ways of trying to get organised and printing out a calendar for the year and then never looking at it again. Or like...
This sounds exactly like me.
Yeah. I've given it a few different cracks. And for the most part, I just wing it, to be honest. I'm finding trying to find structure in my day is probably quite difficult for me, because one day I might be needing to do artwork, and then that artwork might take me the entire day. So then I've got a whole entire day full of emails to catch up with on the next day. But then if I'm in my creative brain, I find it difficult to leave the artwork the next day because I'm like, I need to finish this. So it's a work in progress. I miss a lot of meetings, but people seem to give me concessions because I'm a creative. So that's nice.
You are the brand. You are the visionary.
I'm not trying to take advantage of that. It's just more that I think people realize that when you're creative, you sort of get in the zone and time becomes a construct. I just don't even have a concept of time when I'm painting.
And I just think this as well in the business, and when you are creating a product and running everything that goes with it, there's just so many different moving parts. And I personally find myself, I jump between so many different things, and then that's exhausting at the end of the day.
Yeah, you feel like you haven't really finished anything because you've gone it's like when you unload the dishwasher and then you put the cup away and then you see something in the cupboard, you're like, oh, I've got to go do that. And then you come back and the dishwasher's still full. It's like,
yes,
like that.
Well, definitely the one in our household, and I'll say this for Alex, my husband, as well, is the kettle that gets boiled.
I never gets made a tea.
Yeah, then you walk away from it for a moment and then you come back and you go, oh.
Yeah.
I'll ask you that in your creative process, obviously you've had slogans in there as well, but where do you draw your inspiration from?
I would say day-to-day life, really. I'm kind of the person who will be doing something and then I'll go, oh, that gives me a good idea. And then I'll go and paint that thing straight away. But also I'm finding I'm looking a lot towards luxury brands and brands that have a lot of print-heavy styles to look to. So, I'm looking a lot towards brands like Gucci and Dior, ones that are really heavily print-based, because I find in Australia, there's not a lot of the designer brands that really do lots of art-heavy prints. I feel like we've gone a little bit more on the quiet luxury. And so there's not a lot of print-based stuff. So for inspiration, I'm finding going to places like that where they really push the boundaries of what clothing should look like. And then I take that and I interpret it into my way.
Yeah.
And how can I make that my style, and how can I make that more personal to what I like and what I love?
I love that. Now, before I ask you some questions from our Really Good Conversations pack, I will ask you, has there been a conversation that has profoundly changed you or the direction of your life?
Oh, goodness me. I don't know that there's been one single conversation that's been profound or that's changed my life. But what I will say is that moving into this very new industry and meeting lots of new people, I found that networking has been so incredible, and that taking the time to actually talk to people who you normally never would, and forcing yourself, even if you don't want to go talk to people, you just learn little tidbits about everybody's lives. And, maybe one person that you meet might end up having a huge impact on your life, like the Lisa's conversation. met Lisa and then ended up talking to her sister who became our business advisor for the first year. Or I met this really beautiful woman in New York who turned out to be the manager of Ford Models in New York. And she was just the most beautiful human I'd ever met. And her husband was a firefighter in the 9/11 incident.
Wow,
and
yeah.
I just was enthralled and spoke to her for hours. And I think that's one thing that I've really tried to lean into in this new industry, is really taking the time to speak to people, because you don't know what you'll learn or what might change the trajectory of your career.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think certainly there is that when you are doing your own thing, you've got that flexibility to go and have these conversations. You know, when you are in the, again, whether it's the corporate world, like you have meetings with your colleagues or whatever work it is. So you're not going off and meeting people necessarily from sometimes completely different industries, or there might be people who, yes, they're still in the e-commerce space, but it's a totally different product. But then there's still so much crossover and learnings and challenges along the way. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Right. My questions from our Really Good Conversations pack. Question number 1. What is one of your pet hates?
Oh, people chewing with their mouths open or like loud eating.
Yeah. Question number 2. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Ooh, that's hard because I want quite a few. I think flying. I dream about flying almost every night, and how amazing would that be?
Wow, I love that. And question number 3 is, what is one piece of wisdom you want to pass on to future generations?
Oh, that's such a big, responsibility. One piece of wisdom. I guess it would just be to take care of the planet. It's the only one we've got. And but then kindness as well. And kindness I don't know. It would either be kind to people, kindness matters, or take care of the planet. It's the only one we've got.
Both so important. That is amazing. And the last question that I like to ask all of our guests is, if you could ask someone a question, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Okay, yes, I did think about this, and it would be Banksy. And who are you?
Yes.
Right? Who is he?
That is...
My other one was going to be Andy Warhol, and did you feel you were as successful as you were, or did you compare yourself to other artists? Like, I'd love to just really rack his brain to understand if he knew how impactful his art was going to be on the world.
Yeah. And that's to go back to what I said earlier. It's like, do they ever actually really know until actually it's sort of perhaps past their time to really, like, when you're in it, you know, you're doing all of the things to try and get it out there. Well, thank you so much for everything that you have shared today. Where can our listeners come and find out more, about you and look up some of your fabulous fashion products?
Well, our website is makuthelabel.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Maku_The Label. I share a lot of behind the scenes and how everything works and all of that kind of stuff on our Instagram. So that's probably where you want to go if you want to actually learn more about me. If you want to just shop the brand, MakuTheLabel.com.
Last question. What is your favourite items to design?
Dresses. Or pants. No, pants. I love a good trouser, especially because I'm a tall girl. So I like to design trousers that actually touch the floor.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that, and best of luck. I'm so excited to see where Maku the label continues to grow.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode and that it's left you with something to reflect on or talk about beyond this conversation. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guest. And if Really Good Conversations are your thing, share this episode with a friend, hit subscribe, and join us next time.